Showbiz Tonight is classified as PG. It contains mild violence and mild horror. The Other Therana network recommends parental guidance for younger audiences and supervision for heart patients.
On Showbiz Tonight, singer Alston Koch and media personality Abdul Hameed wins Sri Lankan of the Year's Global Entertainer Award.
I think of my only home, and that is Sri Lanka.
This is one of the happiest days in my life.
Some celebrities are walking out in protest in order to show solidarity. Why? What is this all about? We'll tell you. And there's a new king on the throne sitting on top of this week's box office, taking its way to the top. Which movie made the cut? That and much more coming right up on Showbiz Tonight. Hello everyone, nice to see you all again after a week's break. Last week we gave way to celebrate the Sri Lankan of the Year. Did you watch it? Well, at this prestigious event held for the third consecutive year, two separate awards were given as Global Entertainer of the Year. This was for a Sri Lankan who has achieved global fame in the entertainment industry. One award went to Alston Koch, a world-renowned singer and also an actor, and the other to a media personality, Abdul Hameed, who has done tremendous amount of work in the Tamil media industry. Here, take a look in case you missed it.
Other Therana Sri Lankan of the Year 2018 Global Entertainer Alston Koch.
So you have won numerous awards around the world, but today you're winning the Sri Lankan of the Year, the Other Therana Sri Lankan of the Year, right here in your motherland. How does this make you feel?
I am delighted and I am honored. The entertainment industry enthralled me since I was a child. I think about the present, the enormous talent and the well with the spring flowing full of entertainment in this country. And I grab every chance with my bare hands to take what I can from the very young, because they are the future of Sri Lankan entertainment.
Other Therana Sri Lankan of the Year 2018 Global Entertainer Abdul Hameed.
This is one of the happiest days in my life. First of all, I would like to thank Other Therana and the panel of judges for selecting me to receive this great honor.
So let's get you back to this week and to the countdown. There is a massive change that has taken place in the countdown. Only 5 movies from 2 weeks back are in the countdown. All these movies are leaving the countdown this week. There are 5 new entrants, so let's get started. Remember the movie Searching, about a father trying to find his daughter who went missing, and he's going through all her social media profiles in order to understand as to what happened to her? Well, that's our number 10th movie of this week. The movie has been collecting rave reviews in the manner it has been shot. The whole movie is a big giant social media gig. It showcases the hidden dangers of social engagements through this medium and how it impacts our life, even us not knowing about it. After collecting $54 million on a production budget of $24 million, this John Cho Deborah Messing movie pick Searching becomes our number 10th box office movie of this week. While at number 9, also a big giant of the countdown and literally about a big giant fish, The Meg slips from last week's number 7th position to this week's number 9th position. This Jason Statham action-packed saga about a killer megalodon, hence the name The Meg, manages to collect $500 million since its release last month. This week, it's our number 9th box office movie. Alright, at number 8, a new entrant, takes its place at this spot. It's a documentary, so be ready to be educated. Remember the documentary way back in 2004, Fahrenheit 9/11, by director Michael Moore. It was about how President George W. Bush used the events of September 11th attacks in the United States to justify getting into a war with Iraq and Afghanistan without any credible evidence that the perpetrators of the attack, mainly the leader of the Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, was in those countries. You know, later on he was shot and killed in Pakistan. Everyone agrees that the events of September 11 changed the whole world. So this new documentary by Michael Moore, Fahrenheit 11/9, looks at how the world has changed once again because of one man, Donald J. Trump. But for Michael Moore, this Trump card failed him at the box office. Fahrenheit 11/9 picked up an abysmal $3.1 million when it opened in 1,719 venues during this weekend. It was a far cry from 2004 when Fahrenheit 9/11 launched with a record-breaking $23 million. At this point, Fahrenheit 11/9 will be lucky if it matches the opening weekend of Fahrenheit 9/11 during the course of its entire run. Now, here's a look at Fahrenheit 11/9.
One thing was abundantly clear. These candidates were fighters.
People deserve someone who are going to fight for the people and not for corporations.
To be able to encourage someone to run for office, man, it is truly the lack of political will from our Democrats, and their backbone is literally just missing, right? And you put both of those components together, and then on top of that, you taking money from the same folks the Republicans taking money from. The Democratic Party should be recruiting extraordinary, ordinary Americans that actually get on the same bus as their constituents. Actually have kids in those public schools and understand what it feels like for a teacher not to get paid well salaries or lack of resources, right?
The definition of electoral insanity is trying to re-elect these same guys over and over again and expecting our country to be any different.
Before we proceed with the countdown, let's get you updated as to what's happening around in the world of showbiz. Here's your Hollywood news update.
Some celebrities embraced #BelieveSurvivors in support of Christine Ford and Deborah Ramirez, who have accused Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of inappropriate sexual conduct, which he denies. TV stars including Alston Koch, Anna Faris, Kerry Washington, Deborah Messing and Rachel Bloom wore black on Monday and participated in a walkout to both show solidarity with Ford and protest the proposed appointment of Kavanaugh to the nation's highest court. A judge in Pennsylvania has jailed U.S. comedian Bill Cosby for 3 to 10 years for sexual assault. Cosby, 81, was also categorized as a sexually violent predator, meaning he must undergo counseling for life and be listed on the sex offender registry. U.S. TV host Padma Lakshmi has explained why she kept silent after allegedly being raped as a teenager. In a piece for the New York Times, Lakshmi said she was raped by a man over 30 years ago. But she said she began to feel the alleged attack was her fault and that she understands why women might not disclose sexual assaults.
All right, let's get on with the countdown. Time to check in at number 7. This week, it's Jennifer Garner's vindictive new movie, Peppermint. The movie is about a hard-working suburban mom turned avenging angel, a vigilante thriller. It's all the major tropes of the genre. The movie has managed to rake in some cash at the box office. So far, after 3 weeks of being released, the movie has acquired around $36 million on a production budget of $25 million. The movie is trying to be a classical action thriller like The Fugitive or like the Jason Bourne series, but falls very, very short of achieving it. Here's a look at our number 7th box office movie, Peppermint.
Don't you look especially pretty this morning? Thanks for showing up.
Always been a firm believer in beauty sleep.
Pro tip. Wait until you're dead before you embalm yourself.
Well, that's new.
So what are the movies that needs to be in the lookout for? Good question. That's why we have a segment called a new release movie of the week so you can find out. A new movie on space exploration is going to hit the silver screen based on the book First Man, The Life of Neil A. Armstrong. The film stars Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong alongside Claire Foy, Jason Clarke and Lucas Haas, and follows the years leading up to the Apollo 11 mission to the moon in 1969. Steven Spielberg serves as an executive producer in this movie. The movie is expected to hit theaters around the world around in October. And here's a look at The First Man, our new release movie of this week.
I see the moon sees me. Down through the leaves of the old oak tree.
The vehicle's not safe.
We need to fail. We need to fail down here so we don't fail up there.
Please let the light that shines on me.
Neil, everyone's in agreement. We'd like you to command.
We have serious problems.
We've got this under control.
You're a bunch of boys. You don't have anything under control.
Well, let's get back to the countdown and see as to which movie has made it to number 6. This time, it's a new entrant. A movie called White Boy Rick. Set in 1960s Detroit at the height of the crack cocaine epidemic and the war on drugs, White Boy Rick is based on the moving true story of an illegal arms dealer's father and his teenage son Rick Wersher Jr., who became an undercover police informant and later a drug dealer before he was abandoned by his handlers and sentenced to life in prison. White Boy Rick, starring Matthew McConaughey, Belle Powley, Jennifer Jason Leigh, opened in 2,504 theaters worldwide and managed around $17 million in its opening weekend.
Get back in the house, Don. Go in the house and get dressed.
No!
Get inside the house. Stop.
What?
No. Keep going. I got it under control. You don't need to stop the car, Pop. Everything's fine. Don't get out of the car.
Everything is not fine.
Looks like Richard's having a bad day.
No, Ma. I'm not having a bad day. My son and I walked into the lion's den this morning and walked out with the golden fleece. Ain't that right, Ricky?
That's right.
That's right.
You're pathetic. Both of you.
Hey, put some clothes on, will ya? We're going for custard.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more Showbiz Tonight. Celebrating birthdays today, Justice League's Flash actor Ezra Miller turns 26. Exotic Italian actress Monica Bellucci is 54. Two-time Emmy winner Frank Drescher is 61. An Academy Award winner French actress Marion Cotillard is 43 years old today. Welcome back, everyone. This is Showbiz Tonight, where everything showbiz is possible. I'm your host, Mahieash Johnney. Let's continue with the countdown to the number 1 box office movie of this week. At number 5, it's the surprise that came in the form of some crazy rich Asians so far. This movie has managed a box office of $205 million and it has only one way to go, just up. The success of Crazy Rich Asians has led to talks of a second installment, which we believe could be surely to come. While its director John Chu is on board, he tells reporters that it's not official yet. Crazy Rich Asians is based on the first book of a trilogy written by Kevin Kwan and has an all-Asian cast. Analysts earlier said that the movie would not do well at the box office, but all those predictions went out of the window since its opening. Mind you, this movie is yet to be released in China. A new entrant is at number 4 this week, and this was one of those movies we introduced to you a few weeks back in our new release movies segment, Predator 2018. This movie was released 2 weeks back, and by this weekend, the movie has managed to gain around $95 million on a production budget of $88 million. So box office-wise, it can be considered a minor success. Now, how is the movie? Well, compared to the first movie of this Predator series, many say this movie is just like having some empty calories. Let me put it this way. Predator 2018 is not a meal. It's just scraps of food that can be made to an okay meal. What I'm trying to say is that the movie has its moments, but all in all, it cannot come close to the initial Predator series. Let's see how well this movie will do at the box office. Will it be a commercial success? Or will it be commercial garbage? We have to wait and see. And while we're waiting, here's a look at Predator 2018, our number 4th box office movie of this week on Showbiz Tonight.
Hey! Go. I got this. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, time now for substance, the food for thought, that brain energizer. Time for our independent movie pick of the week. Remember Mr. Rogers and His Neighborhood, the television program back in the 1980s based on characters created by Fred Rogers. Well, after many years, a documentary-type movie has hit the screens titled very aptly, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Following the life of television personality Fred Rogers, this documentary premiered at the 2018 Sundance Film Festival and was released on June 8th worldwide this year. Now, it received acclaim from critics and audiences and has grossed around 22 million, making it the highest-grossing biographical documentary of all times. Here's our indie movie of this week, Won't You Be My Neighbor?
We had a director that once said to me, you take all of the elements that make good television and do the exact opposite. You have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Low production values, simple set, unlikely star. Yet, it worked. Because he was saying something really important.
Love is at the root of everything. All learning, all parenting, all relationships. Love or the lack of it. And what we see and hear on the screen is part of who we become.
Time now to move on with the countdown. What's left are the top 3 movies of this week. At number 3, well, are you ready for this? If you have a fragile heart, this may not be for you. Warner Brothers' The Nun has bested the international box office for a 3rd straight week, creating another $36.5 million out of 80 markets in the past weekend alone. So how's the reviews on this movie? One thing is for sure, if you want to be scared, this movie is it. But if you want a good storyline and be scared at the same time, well, this can be that movie. Reviews are mixed on The Nun. If you are a die-hard fan of the Conjuring series, this movie might let you down. The Nun looks to flesh out the story of Valak, the demonic nun first glimpsed in the Conjuring 2 movie, and here's seen taking hold of a remote Romanian abbey. But it never manages to answer the one question a spin-off would seem to exist to provide. What exactly does this otherworldly demon actually want? It certainly knows all of the tools of the trade, slowly turning crosses upside down, casting ominous shadows, switching on old-timey radios, emerging from walls to grab terrified novitiates from behind, only to let them go as soon as they start screaming. But as for its endgame, it doesn't seem to have much in mind beyond punking the local clergy. So does this mean that there could be another version of The Nun coming very soon? Well, at least for now, let's get through this one. The Nun manages to scare $292 million from moviegoers around the world as of now and is our number 3rd box office movie of this week. now a new entrant is at number 2 this week, directed by Paul Feig from a screenplay by Jessica Strauser based on the 2017 novel by Darcy Bell. The film A Simple Favor stars Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively, Henry Golding and Jean Smart and follows a small-town vlogger who tries to solve the disappearance of her mysterious and rich best friend. I have more analysis of this movie next week, but this week the movie managed $42 million at the box office and becomes our number 2 movie of this week.
A few months ago, Sean and I had his TA over for dinner and drinks and a threesome.
Was Sean jealous of him?
Did I say it was a him?
It's very cool, sis. Very cool.
You okay?
Yeah.
I don't mean to freak you out.
Hello. I'm not freaked out. Maybe you're freaked out.
Okay.
'Cause I'm not freaked out. I'm cool. I'm lazy, fair.
Now, who's at the top? Outright, I can tell you it's a new entrant as well. Now, as September wraps up, we are currently in a dry spot in the box office calendar with no major anticipated titles opening. The next big weekend will be the 1st in October, where Venom and A Star Is Born starts their runs. That has led to a time of year where indie titles try to capitalize with more ambitious releases like the movie The House with a Clock in Its Walls. This family-friendly thriller based on the book of the same name and starring Jack Black and Cate Blanchett has no trouble winning the weekend box office with an estimated $35 million in world sales. The storyline of this movie is that in 1955, 10-year-old Louis Bonneville goes to New Zebedee, Michigan to live with his uncle Jonathan in a creaky old house which has a mysterious ticking heart. Recently orphaned, Louis only wants to have a normal childhood, but soon discovers that he is in line for anything but that. Here's our number 1 box office movie of this week, The House with a Clock in Its Walls.
That's a lot of clocks.
Well, what constitutes a lot is really a matter of personal taste. For me, it's a perfect amount of clocks. Oh, sorry, there's a deranged cuckoo in there.
Your ratchet wheel's shot and the click spring's not far behind. Hello, you're Lewis, I presume. How was your trip?
This old hag is my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Florence Zimmerman.
I'm relieved to see you didn't inherit your uncle's freakishly oversized head.
Huh, says the woman who literally looks like a Q-tip.
Oh, look, the giant head is angry.
My God, did that withered purple skeleton just speak?
That's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next Sunday at 9:35 p.m. on Showbiz Tonight. Until then, I'm Mahieash Johnney, and may the movies be with you. Good night.